Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're jumping into something huge, one of the most foundational claims in all of history, the resurrection of Jesus Christ. We're going to break down the story, not just what they say happened, but why it's supposed to matter so much. So yeah, let's dive right in.
Listen to that. He is not here. He has risen. Those are the words that really changed everything. But here's the thing. To really get the explosive power of that claim, you and we have to understand the 2 days that came before it. See, this isn't just a story about an empty tomb. It's the climax of a 3-day journey that starts in total darkness and ends with this incredible declaration of life.
And this is a really key idea to grasp right from the start. The resurrection wasn't just an end, it was a beginning. The source material talks about this idea of first fruits. What does that mean? Well, it means Jesus was the first to be raised from the dead like this, but he wasn't meant to be the only one. So his resurrection wasn't just the end of his story, it was the start of a whole new reality for everyone else.
Okay, so here's how we're going to walk through this. We're going to follow that exact timeline. We'll start with Friday and the cross, then we'll move through that profound quiet of Saturday, and we'll finish up with the events of Sunday morning that literally changed the world.
All right, let's start with Friday, the cross. The source paints this picture. The sky over Jerusalem goes dark, and it's not a storm. It's because something absolutely unthinkable is happening. The Creator is being handed over to the cruelty of his own creation. And the details, man, they're just brutal. The very hands that healed the blind, they're pierced with nails. The back that carried so many people's burdens is just torn to shreds. And the whole time, the crowd is taunting him, right? Come down from the cross if you're so powerful. And that's really the core tension of this moment. You had this immense power being shown through what looks like total weakness.
But here's the absolute game changer, the point the source really drives home. He could have left. He could have called down 10,000 angels. He could have just walked off that cross. But the claim is that he chose to stay. Why? Because of you. To take on every single sin, every bit of shame, all of our human brokenness onto himself. And the motivation? It was love.
And with those final words, "It is finished," he breathes his last. The source tells us the earth itself shakes, the curtain in the temple is torn in two, and then just this deep silence falls. Friday is over. And it really seems like all the hope that had been swirling around him is just gone.
And then comes Saturday, the day of silence. This is the quiet day. The disciples, they're hiding, terrified for their lives. His followers are just weeping. It feels like the absolute end of the line. All those promises, all those miracles, it feels like they all died with him on that cross.
And this leads to a really powerful question. Have you ever had a Saturday like that? Really, a time when it just feels like it's all over. A day, or maybe a whole season of your life, where a dream you held on to so tightly just died, and there's nothing left but silence.
We all know what this Saturday feels like, don't we? It's that moment you pray, and you just hear nothing back. It's that moment you look at your life and you think, maybe God has forgotten about me. Maybe I'm just too broken for this. That's the real core of that Saturday, that feeling of being completely and utterly alone in the dark.
But, and this is the big pivot, here's what the disciples couldn't possibly have known. The source explains that this silence wasn't God's absence. It was actually preparation. It was the quiet before the single greatest moment in human history was about to explode onto the scene. Even in the waiting, something huge was happening.
And then Sunday arrives, and the whole tone just flips. The silence is shattered, not by more despair, but by this shocking, unbelievable discovery that morning.
And the source really highlights these specific details, almost like clues. The stone isn't just pushed aside, it's rolled completely away. The grave clothes aren't just thrown off in a hurry, they're folded, neatly. Almost like someone saying, I'm done with these, not gonna need them again. And then of course you get the announcement from the angels, he is alive.
And here's the crucial point. He didn't just escape. He wasn't just resuscitated. The claim is that he walked out of that tomb under his own power. Death and the grave, they thought they'd won. But you just can't keep the author of life in a grave. It's impossible.
Okay, so that's the story. But the source is really clear that this isn't just some historical event to be filed away. No, it's presented as a living, breathing reality that has massive implications for your life right now. So let's break down the 3 big takeaways. First up, your sins are forgiven.
And I mean truly forgiven. Not just swept under the rug or ignored, but completely and totally dealt with. He took them to the cross, and when he rose from the dead, he left them in that tomb for good.
The fancy theological term for this is justification, but think of it like a legal term, like in a courtroom. It means that because Jesus paid the full price, God can look at a believer and declare them not guilty. It's not about you earning it, it's about you receiving a verdict that's already been won on your behalf.
The second big thing is this: death is defeated. Because he rose, the grave is no longer the final chapter. It's just a door. For anyone who puts their faith in him, death has lost its sting, its ultimate power over us.
And finally, number 3, you have power to live differently right now. This is huge. The claim is that the exact same Spirit, the very same power that literally reversed death and brought Jesus out of that tomb, now lives inside of those who believe in him. That's the power to overcome fear, to break old destructive patterns, and to face absolutely any challenge. So we'll end with this question. If the claim is true, that no stone was too big and no darkness was deep enough to hold him down, what does that mean for the tombs in our own lives? You know, the fear, the guilt, the hopelessness that can feel so final. The empty tomb isn't just about a historical event. It's a declaration of possibility over every single impossible situation we face.